Major League Journeymen, not your normal voice, Mr. Gargan. To be completely honest, he's walkabout. We have absolutely no idea where he is. Gordo, I hope you've heard from him in the last couple days because we didn't know he wasn't going to show up for work today. No problem whatsoever. Because we want to keep this Midwest related Chicago Fire 2017 to 2019. Drew might have been there a little bit later. We got a special guest on, Mr. Drew Connor. Chicago Fire homegrown legend, a good friend of the pod, a good friend of me and Gordo. Drewby, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Amazing. It feels really good to be on the phone with you guys again. Um,
on the pod? I can see you.
Pod.
I can see you.
My dad wants to be on this so bad.
Yeah?
So maybe we can send him the Zoom link and get him a little appearance. He was telling me the other day, he's like, I'd love to go on that podcast and just tell some stories and stuff. So
God, I tell you what, I would love to hear from Tom Connor. So if you want to get producer Sam, his phone number, his email during this pod, we got a 30 to 40 minute window. If he wants to hop on, I would love to hear a 5-minute cameo from Tom Connor. How is your pops doing?
He's good, man. I think he's sad I'm not playing anymore.
Tom, let it go. That retirement happened a while ago.
I know. Soccer was our thing. So he'll still call me every now and then and be like, you can tell he's still thinking about my career. He's like, I just sometimes I think if you would have scored in that Seattle game, like when you had that shot, and I'm like, fuck that.
It would have all been different. It would have all been different.
Everything would have been different, man.
So let's for people who might listen to the show that might not know who you are, Drew Connor. When did you turn pro, Drew? 2016.
So 2015 was my first year. So I was a Fire Academy product. I grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and I was a part of the Fire's and MLS's first, academy class. So like the academy started in 2012, which was my freshman year in high school. I was one of few, in my age group that kind of got the invite because it was only U16, U18. And man, it was Larry Sunderland, Tony Keys, Louis Matus, eventually Mako, Soleil, a lot of these legendary Chicago coaches and characters that all came to the Fire during that time. And yeah, man, it's crazy to think like how new the academy system is in the US and how fresh that still is and how fresh US soccer and the MLS and all of this still really is and where it is now. I mean, I think for me, I was one of the last players that played academy, played college, and then played pro. Right? You don't see a lot of guys now that are, top academy prospects. Then they go play college for 4 years.
Yeah.
Then they get signed in the MLS. It's like now there's this whole system in place with the MLS 2. And there's all this opportunity, So it's crazy to think because in a lot of ways, you and Gordo probably feel like you saw the MLS grow from the jump up until now. So you have that full perspective. And I think I'm kind of the last of what I would call the true Yam generation. And if you're not familiar with Yam, that's a play on Tam or Gam in MLS terms, but that's young American money, which the joke is there is none. Right? There's none to go around.
Buddy. There's none to go around, dude. I love it. That's a great intro. We just want to have you on. You're a guy for the vibes, for the culture. Obviously, we had a great relationship when we were in Chicago, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then you throw Gordo into the mix in 2018, and it's just this powder keg of craziness that was going on in that locker room. So we want to reminisce on the good old days, get some stories from you about kind of what you were feeling during those times. But let's talk about right now. I mean, it feels like the Chicago Fire, the last time we were really relevant or the Chicago Fire were really relevant was maybe when Basti came, right? You had a little bit of a renaissance with Basti and all these good vibes coming in. We made the playoffs in 2017. We had a great year. But now with Greg Berhalter, being introduced as the head coach, I feel like it's been a fun season. Tons of good attacking quality players. Before we get into the glory days, what have you made of the season in Chicago this year? Like, have you been to a few games? What's your take on their season so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a lifelong fan of the Fire, and I'm one of those people where like when I was in college and people were like, "Who do you support?" I was like the Fire because what I was trying to do is I was trying to set a precedent for like supporting your local club, and I always found it really really silly when like some kid from like Barrington, Illinois would be like, "Oh, I'm a diehard West Ham fan." It's like, dude, there's no reason for you to be a fan of that club, And so I always loved supporting my local team and obviously getting to play for the team. In 2009, I watched my Fire fall in a packed Toyota Park Stadium with Blanco and Logan Paws and CJ and all those guys. I think we lost to Real Salt Lake in the Eastern Conference semifinals in
Yep.
PKs. I was right behind the goal. And, that was the most packed I'd ever seen Toyota Park until Basti came and we went on a little run in 2017 and we played against Seattle Sounders in like a 25,000 seat, sold out Toyota Park. And that was
National
kind of,
TV game. Yep.
yeah, yeah. And that was kind of, for me, that was like, okay, I saw the Fire peak in 2009. I got to be a part of the next peak and the next year that we made playoffs since. And then there was just a lull, and I
Yeah.
think that came from, of course, other teams building stadiums in their city, signing big time players. The Fire for years, it felt like whenever we kind of got a rhythm, it was cut short, and then it was this like starting over period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think since Joe came in, everything's kind of shifted. And even though that might not reflect like incredible outcomes on the field, although we're kind of in a playoff contention right now, I think what it's done is it's shown a commitment of his character, number one, but his commitment to like the city of Chicago and what it
Yeah.
means to be from Chicago and what embodying that spirit of, the Midwest blue collar mentality. We'll play in snow, we'll play in rain, we don't give a fuck kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, I mean, I live in Pilsen, so I live on the southwest side of Chicago, and like the new training facility is 2 blocks from my place. So it was wild because watching that thing get built so fast and then to be able to drive by it,
Yeah.
see all these amazing grass fields, it reminds me of the days that we were training near
Uh,
Mount Bridgeview in the parking lot of Toyota Park and that long, 15, 20-minute walk out there.
Brutal,
And
dude.
it really, again, it shows how far the league's coming, but how the Fire are really trying to catch up to what Chicago deserves right now in a team. And the new stadium plans are super exciting, man. Like, it's the perfect spot right there in South Loop. It's a place that needs development in the city. There's going to be a lot of nightlife that's going to come in that
Hey.
area. So maybe I can get involved there.
Little
But
little foreshadowing for
yeah,
later.
but it's just really exciting. Like obviously Greg, I think everyone knows for a long time, I mean, how much success he's had in the league and it shows. And I think what I always wanted for the Fire was a coach that had MLS experience and MLS wins under his belt.
Yeah.
Because for so long we were pulling in foreign coaches and kind of like hoping for something miraculous. And you
Yep.
see that all the time in player signings too. And what you see sometimes is like people that know this league, people that play in it, American players, American coaches, there is a lot of value in that. And I think what Joe's building right now is a testament to him being smart about, his decisions and where he puts the stadium and how big the training facility is. And, from their marketing department, like who are they getting involved with in local collaborations to kind of tie this city together? Because for so long, Chicago Fire felt like it was on an island on its own. And there was no
Yes.
connection to the city and
Right.
no connection to the youth and the, like everything that Chicago is about, and just seeing like outside the field, like their new collaborations, and this is all the stuff I was like pushing for while I was a player. Like
Yeah, of course.
that's the crazy thing, right? Is like I had that one calf injury that stayed
The
with me
calf.
my entire career, never fully went away. But like, I remember being injured and just like walking up to Nelson's office and being like, we should do a sick jersey for the fans. And he's like, Drew, go get fit. Go fix
You
your
were
back.
like, hey, Nelson, maybe we should do this collab with this like really cool street artist who
I'm like,
design a jersey.
yeah.
And Nelson's like, Nelson Rodriguez, the GM at the time, he's probably looking at you like you had 4 eyes. Like, what is this kid doing?
You know, and it's funny because, you know, Nelson and I couldn't be more opposite of human beings. But when I ended up coming back to Chicago after my little European escapades, I got connected with him, and he said something that kind of stuck with me. He was like, you know, Drew, I'm really excited to see what you do after soccer. And I kind of took offense to it because I was like, I'm still playing.
I'm still playing,
and
bro.
I should still be on your fucking team, dude.
I'm going to Indy 11, bro.
Yeah. But he was right, man. And all the things that like all the ways I've been able to kind of tie myself back into the game and still be involved, even just being on here with you guys today, it's cool, man. I mean, there's not a lot of 3-year MLS legends, but I'm one of them.
Yeah, you are.
Hey, I mean, when you talked about the sad walk out from Chicago, it brought a lot of feelings back into where I was. And I think it's so fun to get together with guys that you played against, and we're all in different places at that moment. And for the listeners, what I love about Drew, so when I was there, I was 37. It was my last year. No matter what, it was over for lots of reasons, right? Including me not being able to play soccer anymore. But it was over. And so I knew that, and I am just this old cranky veteran that had been in the MLS forever, and I don't remember anything. Like but Drew is my memory.
Well, Gordo, I remember the first day you walked into the locker room in preseason, and basically your walk-in said everything that you just said about your last year, the way that you walked in, and not to remind any of us of our age, but like, dude, when you walked in, I was like, I know that guy. Like, like, you know, when you see like somebody from TV, or you see somebody that like you know their face, but maybe you haven't met them in person. You're staring at them, trying to figure out how you know them. Dude, you were in my first ever deck of soccer cards. When I was 13 or 12, you were in my first deck of soccer cards with like Clint Mathis. And
how is that possible?
And like some other dudes. And when you walked in, and it kind of clicked, and you picked up the locker room next to me, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, Alan?" You're like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And I was like, "Okay, this guy's obviously been through a lot."
Get away from me, kid. Hey, so a little context to that. I had just had back surgery. Okay, 9 weeks prior to me meeting you for the first time. I have back surgery. I played with a herniated disc in the entire 2017 season. Miserable season. I was going to retire, but I needed a paycheck. So, you know, Nelson, I get on the phone with Nelson, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going into preseason. Like, you know who I am. You know what I bring. Do you want me or not? Because I'll just retire if you don't want. And he's like, yeah, no, we want you, but it's not really a tryout for you, but we want you to come meet the coach, because Pano's a little bit different, and we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. And I was like, you know, several calls. I was like, all right, I'll go in, dude. I was not supposed to get out of a walk until 12 weeks. I had not done a thing. This is the first time in my life that I gained like 15 pounds. And I was nervous to even take my shirt off in that locker room to get ready for training because I hadn't done shit.
Yeah, dude. And what's his name? Our trainer Petar, who was like an old school Serbian. You know, this is a different, like, he was going off a different knowledge base of the human body, you know, of human anatomy. So when you said you were tight in your back and you couldn't run, his answer was to take your ankles and put them over your leg and stretch you out.
I've never seen Gordo in such a vulnerable position. This guy, Petar, he had Gordo's ankles by his ears, and he was like, "Yes, deeper, deeper." And Gordo's sitting there like, "Oh,
I thought my spine was gonna pop out of my back, and that only happened because Pano's like, "Yeah, get your gear on. Just come out and watch training. Just come out and watch." I was like, "Okay, I'll watch." And I'm sitting there for 5 minutes. We were playing this little possession, and he's like, "You want to play?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll jump in." And I was the neutral, and I was just kind of like popping it around. I was popping it around, and Pano just, Pano, he just saw something. He's like, "Oh, a guy that can pass 5 yards, right here." He's like, "Dude, that's our guy." I made the team because we were playing pickup football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played flag football with the pennies. And that was your tryout. You should have just came in for football.
Yeah.
Because that's when you put on the Alan Gordon show, dude. And you were doing the huddles and you were tossing TVs. It was
the guy
great.
the guy thought he was prime Peyton Manning.
I kind of was. I was dropping dimes, and then that's when he told Petar, he's like, "Stretch this guy out. He's going to be on our team."
Debatable. Drew, what resonates most with you in your time in Chicago with all of us? It was a very good locker room. Felt like we had a lot of good personalities, a lot of good guys. Obviously, you had some of the veteran guys, myself and Juninho from the LA Galaxy, Gordo, Basti. And then there was a pretty big gulf in between guys with, a little bit younger, right? We had a young team, you, Daniel Johnson, DJ, great player, Patrick Duty, Johnny Campbell, Georgi Mihailovic was coming through. Like what during those years, like what resonates with you the most in terms of something that sticks out in your brain as something that's most memorable about those teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you just described the roster, right? Like you look at MLS teams and you look at like, okay, what do you need, right? You have the guys that you're spending money on and you need those guys to be effective. And I think that year in 2017 is the year that sticks out for me where it's like the money was spent well and in the right places. Yeah. I think I had my own doubts about, Nikolic when he came in because I didn't see him complete a pass in training and like the man just couldn't accelerate. And I was like, "Arturo, how is this guy our $1 million striker? And how is this guy going to score us goals?" And he's like, "Dude, I played with him in Hungary where he was the top goal scorer." And he goes, "This guy is going to score goals with his dick." And the first game of the season, I'm on the bench with Gordo and Arturo. And Junie hits the ball off the crossbar. And it literally drops down and hits Nico in the dick and goes in. and Arturo looks at me and he goes,
"I told you."
He goes, "All season." And,
dude, some people just have it.
And he had it, man. And but yeah, that year, I think when things really clicked and we went on that 11 or 12 game unbeaten streak where we were 7 games at home, we were getting ties and a winner or two there away. That was the most fun I've ever had playing soccer. And the confidence when everything's in the groove and stepping on the field with guys, some younger, some older, like you said, like Georgie was coming through the ranks and there was a cool hierarchy and brotherhood that we had on that team, where we had special players, we had piano players and we had piano carriers and we had some young guys that were willing to do a lot of the dirty work and play multiple positions and then some really special players. And yeah, man, when we were bopping teams and we were feeling good and Toyota Park was full, those were really fun days. And it's a shame that it kind of we weren't peaking into playoffs because I think that would have been a totally different story. But for me to help get the Fire back to a playoff bid, that was probably my biggest accomplishment as a player, which to do it for my hometown team is cool and wish I could have done it longer. But it was just even the players that we had, even some of the role players, like John Goosens before he got injured was fucking special, dude.
Yeah. Michael DeLeo.
Michael DeLeo was so underrated.
Solignac.
Lucho would run like crazy. And Juninho was even coming off the bench in some cases. And once I kind of started to step up and prove myself a bit. That was a guy who like I was subbing into, which was like really special and cool for me.
Yeah.
And then just the different perspectives of life that we had on the field. Like I think I needed Gordo so bad that year because when I wasn't playing my rookie year and there was a lot of pressure on me to play my second year and I kind of came into the fold, like it was so nice to have a guy who was like on the completely other end of his career, who saw everything like from a zoomed out perspective. Like, dude, this one pass or this one practice doesn't fucking mean anything. Like,
Yeah.
like go get a water, go home, take a nap, you'll be fine, you know?
Yeah.
And like I needed that because at that time where everything is so like when you're a rookie or second year player, those like that one bad practice, it might not affect certain people in terms of how much they're going to play, but like, you know, that one bad practice could fuck up the next month for, you know,
Yeah.
how games go for me. And I think Gordo knew that, but he was like, it's only going to hurt you to keep your mind on that stuff, you know? So it was a good reminder to like enjoy the moment, to not take things too seriously. And then to also have guys like you who were like fully in the prime of their career and, you know, kind of mentoring me in a different way. And then, you know, the way that like I mentored Georgie, you know, Georgie was the next generation of academy guys that didn't go to college. And,
Exactly.
And that showed. And,
of course.
And I had to learn how to love and accept this kid, even though he was a lot different than I was and way more technically gifted, way higher IQ. But I was like, dude, I'm gonna run you into the ground at training until you're better than me. Sure. And there was a changing of the guard. It was my third year. We were playing at home. I started against New England Revolution, and it was the first time Georgie came on for me. And I remember just kind of knowing like this was it. Like this was the end of the season, and like this kid was ready and he was special. And I felt like I remember giving him like an applause. It wasn't for me, it was for him.
Sure.
And I remember kind of feeling like, okay, like if this is it for me and I played a little part in this kid's role and this kid's story moving forward, like what a cool service to provide. And I'm excited to go to his wedding in a couple months.
That's awesome.
Hey, so one of the more notable memories that I have in my time there was the infamous cleat pick where you know, most people have seen it, but I took my clothes off, I stuck my junk in my cleat that had just been delivered, my Adidas cleat, and you so graciously took control of the whole situation.
The art director?
Director. He had the camera angle. You put the darts.
Well, for context, Drew, like Adidas, when we would get these new shoes, because we were all with Adidas at the time, there was this like real big push to like throw it out on social media. Hey, we got the new boots in, right? And so I remember this day so vividly, Gordo, and I just remember thinking, what the hell is going on right now? And I need the art director. I need his perspective on everything that went down, because that was unhinged.
Yeah, it's this generational thing, right? Where it's like myself, all these other, because there were a couple young Adidas guys, and like, dude, we all thought it was the sickest thing, right? Like, like fuck a decent wage, like just give me some free Adidas, right? So when we get into the locker room and like all the Adidas sponsored guys, like their boots would be waiting, it was in the contract that you had to take an Instagram story and tag Adidas, you know? And we were coming off a bad session. It was rainy. The Mount Bridgeview was just treating us horribly. And like, we were about to go on an away trip to, I want to say it was like Salt Lake City. And like, we all got into the locker room and Gordo didn't have fun at training. So he was in a bad mood. And, everyone's like hanging their cleats from the locker and like, you know, doing like a boomerang. They're like
tying the laces together and like spinning it.
Yeah, totally. So, and Gordo just thought that stuff was so stupid. And his Adidas manager, from what I remember, his Adidas rep was on his ass about having not posted anything all year. So, in attempts to change his own mood and his own perspective on the day, Gordo got out of the shower and was like, "Hey, Lucho, what do you think they'd do if I just put my junk in this shoe? And it's like a size 13 Adidas F30 or whatever it was, F50. And Mo Adams is like, oh, you won't do that. Everyone's like, no, Gordo, you won't do it. He's like, yes, I will. I will do it. And he's like, Drew, I need you to take a picture of me with this. And I'm like, Gordo, I'm not going to. And he's like, no, just take the fucking picture, dude. Just do it. Just stop being. Why are you so scared? Why are you so scared all the time? Just do it. And so I'm like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So I'm looking for, the right angle. I'm looking for the right symmetry. I'm looking for lighting. I'm looking for a prop. So finally we go into the lounge and I see this dartboard and I'm like, this would be pretty hardcore if Gordo was like holding the boot and then also with the other hand holding these darts.
There it is.
And so I'm like, all right, go by the dartboard. And then I'm like, actually, go wet your hair. Get your hair wet.
Get your hair wet.
Yeah. So he gets his hair wet.
Pull the bang down. You pull the bang down.
So I was like fixing his hair, like he's a model or something. And
he's naked.
Yeah, and he is naked. And then I take the photo, and Gordo had this weird false set. Like this dude was 37 and like completely ripped up like tiger meat, and he was always like, I'm so fat. He's like, I look terrible, dude. I look terrible. He was very self-deprecating. He was also telling me I look terrible. So like I would take my shirt off in the shower and be like, dude, this whole like cool guy, skinny, tattoo, artsy thing, that's not cool, dude. You look he's like
you look ridiculous.
Yeah, he's like, you look like that fucking Timothée Chalamet guy. He's like, you look so skinny. So I take this photo and we get on the bus to RSL and he's like, can I see the photo? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I look terrible. I'm like, hold on, give it back. So I throw it in like an editing software, and I take the structure and the definition all the way up. So his abs are like busting out of his torso. So he ended up looking super jacked, and I made him like tan and stuff. And then he's like, all right, dude, I'm gonna post it. And I'm like, you are? And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna post it. So he's like, help me come up with the caption. And I was like, thanks at Adidas, these fit great. And so that's what he went with the caption.
No. It was you could wear these anywhere.
and so we're on the bus. Wear them anywhere. We're on the bus to the airport, and like Gordo posts this, dude, and I've never seen something go so viral on Instagram.
So it was before viral was like really like the viral. There was viral stuff in MLS, but this was
and like it happened so fast, and like Gordo also wasn't super active on social media, so I think it was like the fact that he was posting something, and then the fact that it was something outrageous, and it like everyone that had played with him, everyone that's played against him that knows him, like everyone was commenting and sharing this thing. And like, I think by the time we got to the airport, which is like 30 minutes later, like I think the post had like 2,000 likes and like 300 shares. And everyone on the bus, because like you could just like hear this wave of like people laughing, because like it came up on everyone's feed at like the same time, because it was like trending. So like it immediately, like it hit everyone like a domino effect on the bus, and everyone was just cracking up, like showing each other this photo. And then we get to the airport, and then that's when he gets the call from our GM and president, and Adidas guy texted him, and they're like, you have to take this down. He was like, Nelson, people are liking it. He's like, I remember sitting there. I think I have a little bit on video, but he goes, Nelson, I mean, you always talk about publicity. I mean, this is good stuff. People are enjoying it. They're sharing it. Like, you don't think this is good for the club? And he's like, and he knew, like, he obviously understood Gordo's tone. He's like, Gordo, I'm not telling you to take it down. I'm just asking you to take it down. And he was like, all right. And he took it down. But yeah, just like, again, just like we talk about these generational changes in the league, and like Gordo just seeing this stupid Adidas, having to post on Instagram as just a joke, and not realizing the implications or caring was part of the brilliance of where he was at in his career.
Oh, it's great. You can only do something like that if you're just like, I don't care about anything anymore. I know it's the end. I'm going to go out swinging.
I mean, dude, and like everyone was, it was like every other Adidas athlete was commenting on it. Like,
oh, it's great.
Like you're a legend. Like Landon Donovan commented, like Ramondo was commenting, like it was just all over the shop. And yeah, that was definitely a highlight, followed by the best 5v2 / rondos that I ever experienced in my career, which was in Germany, in Bayern Munich. And so when I think about the moments that stick out in that year in my career, the Bayern Munich rondos was
it's perfect.
Maybe like football bliss, and what we're actually all chasing in this game was what we had on that day. And I kind of want to lean on you guys to recall that day.
Just perfection.
Special. But Gordo, maybe you remember why it was so special, or why those rondos were just.
I remember vividly why it was so special. But Gordo, you go first.
So for me, this is why I fell in love with Basti, and I think it's why Basti had a special place for me in his heart. And that's it's true. Basti he's one of the best people, not just players, that I ever came across. He was endearing. He was in it, and he was just a very lovable guy. And so we get there, and Basti and the whole team obviously knew I was past it, and it was my last year. And I remember that first training session, there was like 10,000 people there, right? If I'm exaggerating, it was 5,000 to 10,000. 5,000 is still a lot, it's up there. And I was waving to the crowd like it was my farewell. And Basti was dying. He was dying laughing. And every time I would do something, I'd look over to the crowd, and they would clap and cheer. And he was dying. And he was letting me have my moment, even though it was his moment. And we were truly, like, we were dying. We were laughing so hard just because everything that I did, I just made it like they were all there for me. Any cheer, I would look over and I would make them smile every single time. And even to the point where when I got on against Pano, wanted to beat Bayern Munich. You guys remember that?
Of course.
So Pano's taking it super, super serious. And I'm like, I've never been to Europe before. I mean, one time before. So I went out every night until like 5 a.m. And I'm eating Burger King, the same Burger King, like 3 nights in a row at 5 a.m. I'm like, I'm going to experience this. I'm going out late. And Pano, he didn't put me in. I think, Drew, you were warming up with me, but he didn't put us in until like the 85th or 89th minute. So I had 10 minutes to play in an incredible experience and atmosphere in Allianz Stadium against like the powerhouse that was Bayern Munich. And I'm telling him, I'm like, if I get a chance, I'm shooting it. Like, I want to score, I want this place to go crazy for me. And I remember, like, the only time I got the ball, I didn't care where I was. I just like tried to dribble somebody, and I tried like a left-footed shot from like 35 out. And Basti started laughing at me on the field. He was laughing at me. That's what I remember about Basti.
Dude. Also, let's just make sure we're clear. This was Bastian Schweinsteiger's testimonial game. So he not only like played the first half for the Chicago Fire, he switched jerseys and played the second half for Bayern Munich. And that's when he was laughing at you, right? Because he was basically like, look at this dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, Dax, it was, so I think I grew up watching Schweinsteiger, right? So like when I was in Joey Calistри's Honda Civic on the way to training, and I saw that we signed Schweinsteiger, and there were videos of him in Twitter, and like people were chasing his Uber Black, his limo.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, wow, that was eye-opening, his arrival. But what was even more eye-opening was our experience in Munich and how loved and how basically worshipped he was.
He's royalty. He's royalty.
And that kind of blew us away. And yeah, me and Gordo definitely took that as more of a vacation. And I think this is, I would have liked to play a little bit more against Bayern Munich that day. I think I got 12 minutes, but me and Gordo were busy. We were eating Burger King and we were out on the town and we were
eating schnitzel.
But back to the rondos. So Gordo, you don't remember. This is why I'm here. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
You and I sit next to each other on the flight to Munich. We watch The Big Lebowski. We have a couple drinks. Okay. We get off the flight a little hungover and we get onto the bus and it's 6 p.m. and we think that we're getting ready to go, back to the hotel and rest. We get on the bus and there's beers on the bus.
Oh, yeah. And
you and I have a couple pops and a couple of the other guys join in. A couple of the other guys were, timid because, but we're like, we're here. So we have a couple beers on the bus. And then we get to the hotel and Bowler's like, yo, go get changed. We got to train. And we're like, what? We're like, what? So we're jet lagged. We're a couple drinks deep. And then we get our gear on and we go out to the field and it's misty and we're
perfect
in this perfect and the sun just went down, the lights were on, and the grass was like perfectly like it had just rained, and we set up this 5v2 rondos, and it was like the combination of the jet lag and a couple of the beers.
You're in a delirious state. I know.
We were like in a dream state.
Yeah.
And we were loose and we were having fun and we were excited, but we were also relaxed. It was the best 5v2 I'd ever been a part of. And I have videos to show that I can send you guys.
I'll second that. But Drew, listen, shameless plug here. And I'm going to send this to Sam because I think it is very pertinent. There is a video. Nanad got a video, our video guy, of us in this rondo. And our assistant coach at the time, for those who don't know, his name is Marko Mitrovic. He's actually the head coach of the U20 men's national team right now. And he coached our guys at the Olympics. Now he's moved on. So he's not an assistant coach anymore. He's the head coach. He coached our under 23s at the Olympics. And now he's about to coach our under 20s at the U20 World Cup, I believe, down in Chile. But I had to humble him because it was my favorite time. The best part of every rondo is if you get to mega coach. Okay. And I have a video. I'm going to send it to Sam. So for all of you watching on YouTube, you're going to see this. And I remember Marco was next to me and there was a little bit, when you're next to someone and there's a little bit of like, hey, this is probably your fault. You should go in. And he was like, no, it's probably your fault. You should go in. Well, that was me and Marco. And I'm in this state and I'm like, hey, Marco, sorry, dude, that was your fault. You're in. And he was kind of looking at me and we're pushing each other. So you know how he does this thing where he runs in, he slides past the ball. So we start our rondo. Bop, bop, 2-3 passes, bang, comes back to me, boom, Meg Marco. And I go nuts. And everyone's reaction is so funny. If you go back and watch the video and you just look at everyone's reaction, Gordo, your reaction is priceless. You're just like, bro, you are loving life. Drew's
Remember
the same.
I used to pull my pants down and waddle around.
Yeah. But anyways, this rondo, Drew, I'm so glad you bring that up because I mean, Gordo and I played a long time, right? But there are precious few moments in your career that aren't game related where you remember it so vividly. Like if you close your eyes, you can go and transport to that exact moment in time. I can do that anytime. And it brings me to such a happy place in soccer because we've hit some really high highs and you have some low lows, but you come back to things like that where it wasn't even a league game, right? We were there to just have fun and enjoy. And that is it's like pure ecstasy, right? Like that's where you're at. And I felt that same feeling.
Yeah.
And I thought you made them twice.
It was just once. I probably megged him again, but it was just that one time
Yeah.
in that video.
Dude,
But
The only shitty thing about that rondo was you always want to be part of the action, right? And so if
yeah.
you watch this video, it's I don't touch the ball one time. And I want the ball.
It was popping. Drew, you had some back heels in there.
I was doing
You
my
were balling.
And
I
it
was
was
doing my
popping.
spin.
It was popping. And I'm eventually the guy that lost the ball. I touched it one time and I lost the ball. I'm like, no.
Dude, it was so funny. And we had some good rondo moments back. Like Gordo, one of our last days at training, when you pulled your pants down. Like once we got to 20, you pulled your pants down and started and then Dax, you like doing the one leg where you start hopping on
you hop around on one leg. It's great.
Hey, one of my favorite rondos of that year, and guys, this stuff, if I already said this stuff kept me going. It was an awful year for me. And these moments, the picture, you remember when we did my announcement and I said I wasn't going to go to Real Madrid or
yeah. That was so good.
You were doing the college your choice with the hat.
Yeah. I was selecting my team.
Yeah, you threw the Real Madrid scarf to the side.
Yeah.
And then and then the other scarf was Louisville University, and then it was Chicago Fire.
We just picked any scarf that we could see. And there was one. So for the listeners, Drew's really skillful. We could get into TC, his dad, and his dad used to entertain his dad by like juggling and like doing all these skill moves when he was growing up. Very skilled. My kids still do the Shinto. What's that one touch you taught
the Cinnamon roll.
The Cinnamon roll. They do the Cinnamon rolls. He's really good at the Cinnamon roll. And so Drew thought he was like the best Rabona kicker in the league.
The Rabona King, dude.
And so
I was.
Yeah, well, it was debatable. And so every now and again in the 5v2, he would do a Rabona, and it was like kind of sick. So I told everybody secretly, I go, hey, don't tell Drew, but I'm gonna do a couple Rabonas and just go crazy. Just go crazy. Anytime I do it, just go crazy and just call me the king of the Rabona. And so for the entire practice, I'm doing these stupid Rabonas, and a lot of them are not even hitting. And
they absolutely don't come off.
Guys are going nuts. They're not even hitting. They don't even look good. And Drew's like, what is going on right now? Like, I'm the Rabona King. I'm like, Drew, you're not the king, dude. You're not the king. I'm the king of the Rabona.
Dude, you got me so bad because like I didn't say anything about it, but like when Brandon Vincent was like Rabona God, he was calling you Rabona God. I think what the reaction was that you were looking for was like my jaw kind of dropped and I kind of like looked around and then you looked at me and were like, ah.
That's so good. Hey, the other good memory we have from our time in Chicago was Gordo's birthday. Eunice, what a legend, had him pretend to shoot some dumb video, and we got him very good with tons of whipped cream right in the face. Dude, we had so many good times in that team. The beer mile, oh God, we could go on and on and on. But Drew, I want to bring it back to you because what you're doing right now is really cool. I feel like it's the path less traveled, if you will, after retirement. So, Gordo, he got his hair cut like a loser, threw on the suit and tie, right? Like he's slanging mortgages left and right. I hopped into the suit and the booth and doing the media thing. You chose a different path. So can you kind of walk us through your retirement and kind of like your other passion and what you're doing now? Because I feel like this could help if certain guys that are playing right now that maybe were in your position that were a little bit uncertain about where the future was. You attacked a dream. Like you had a dream and you went for it, and it's successful now. I really want you to talk about kind of your transition into the post-playing career.
Yeah, I think when I first became a pro, like with the Fire, it was the first time where I didn't have to worry about school. It was just soccer, right? And that took up a very small part of our day. And then your job after that was to just rest. Yeah. And so I filled a lot of my days during Chicago, overseas, during my time at Indy 11 with music and with artist discovery, with finding things I liked. And I knew after soccer that I would love to be involved in music in some sense because I just love it so much. And I think for me, it's like that's all I kind of need to be happy. And so it really like when I really started to dip my toes in other things, it was during COVID when we weren't playing, or doing anything. I was in indie, and I just fell in love with like disco music all over again.
Yeah.
Like I grew up kind of on that, and just this like newfound passion and rediscovery of disco music is kind of what led me into loving house music because house music is derived from disco. So like house
Yeah.
music started in Chicago, in the late 70s, early 80s. And it was basically old disco records that people were looping and creating this new style of repetitive like dance music, which became house. So in that kind of like discovery of disco and then kind of falling in love with house from more of like a historical standpoint of like the roots of it and really teaching myself about that kind of music and having come from Chicago. A few months went by and Peter Wilt, who was the founder of Indy 11, Chicago Fire, Minnesota United. I mean, dude, there's like 12
Yeah.
clubs this guy started. He's literally like the founder of the most pro soccer organizations ever.
Yeah.
He called me and he just had this concept called like he had this concept of this team, this pro team he wanted to start. It wasn't going to be MLS, it wasn't going to be USL, it was going to be this new league called NISA, which was basically like an attempt to bring NASL back. So it was an
Yeah.
attempt to bring NASL back. And I think where I was at in my career, I was like, I had a really good run at Indy 11. We had a lot of fun winning, but COVID hit and like we could not retain, the contracts that a lot of our players were on. I mean, we had a lot of former MLS guys and we had guys that probably or ended up going on to MLS. So like we had a stacked team there and not everyone was coming back. And I knew I was on too much money for them to re-sign me to a new deal. And so I either could go to Orange County for a little bit more money that I was on at Indy, or I could take a minimum wage salary and go back to Chicago and be a part of this new team that did not have a name yet. And I thought that was I thought that would help me leave a better fingerprint on the game in the US than like continuing my career in USL. It just sounded interesting. And when Peter came to me with the team and was like, I want you to be our first signing, I want you to help me get players, I want it to be local. I fell in love with the idea. He had CJ Brown as the head coach. So like Peter
Yeah.
Wilt, CJ Brown, Drew Connor, like it kind of there was something going there. And of course, the team folded after a year, and there's so many stories to tell about that season and why it was so special. And like, it could have been a documentary. But when Peter and I were talking, he brought up the idea of naming it Chicago House Athletic Club after house music being from Chicago. And like the timing of that proposal to me with my musical endeavors at that time and like what I was into, it just lined up to be like this soccer music experience, and I shared with Peter, like I wanted cheap tickets for people to go to Toyota Park and see us play where like mostly Bridgeview people would come out and we would have little concerts after the games. That was kind of the original concept. Things went wrong with the league, with ownership, blah, blah, blah. It all fell through, but it was some of the most fun I've ever had playing soccer. And during that time, in Chicago House, I wanted to create an after party for the fans and my friends on the team. And that's when I started Housecalls we started at Blind Barber. It was really a place where me and my teammates and fans and friends could go hang out after the game and listen to house music. And then when I met my co-founder and our third partner later on at the venue, we created the brand name and started doing monthly shows there.
Sick.
And it just kind of took off. And so we were only doing once a month. And after the house season, the house folded, the soccer team, I was like, well, I don't want to stop playing because the team folded. I'm going to go play one more year. So I decided to go up to Madison, Wisconsin and play for Ford Madison, Peter's other team.
Sick.
And the goal was to finish my last 13 credits of my degree there. And then and play the season with Ford Madison and leave and kind of cap the career off back in Madison. And then right when I was about to enroll in classes, Abby and Cody, my partners, called me and they're like, "Hey, we just landed a club." And I'm like,
Wow.
"What are you talking about?" And they're like, "We just found this space. We just struck a deal with this guy. Like, does this sound good to you?" I was like, "Yeah." So I did enroll in classes. I would play my games for Ford Madison. I'd shower at 9 p.m. and I'd drive 3 hours back to Chicago to open the club in Chicago. And I did that drive every time we had a home game or every time I was available. Because I knew it was the next play, you know, and
Yeah.
I kind of bet on myself, and I have an incredible team now, and the brand has grown so much like over the last 4 years. And yeah, we got a lot of like exciting things in the works. We're doing a Mexico City show. I think we're gonna do a St. Patrick's Day multi-day festival at Navy Pier. So
It's awesome,
it's
man.
it's getting pretty real. And
Hey,
I didn't know, like, I didn't really have a plan to how it would get here, but I think it's just a testament to kind of like following your gut. You know, it was like, how stupid do you have to be, or how intense does your gut feeling have to be to turn down like triple the money in Orange County, California, versus like going to start this kind of like random, unproven team, you know, this experiment. So I just kind of followed my instinct and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be about, and it kind of led me to this moment.
yeah, it's been cool to watch kind of your progression, because I've been against it the whole time. I've been telling you to get into sales since
Get a real job.
yeah, go get a real job. You're gonna kill it. Come do mortgages with me. We're making all kinds of money. But you went your own path. My question is, so since I knew you, you've had this love for music, even to the point where another one of my memories of the Chicago time was my family was in Denver, and I would do a similar kind of trip. I would play the games. I would get on a red eye right after the games, and then I would go spend time with my family for 24 hours, and I'd be back. And I would always get like 3 texts from Drew. He'd be like, "Listen to this song, check this out, and check this out." And it got me through that time. I remember listening to these songs over and over and over at the airport as I'm traveling and super depressed about where my life was at that point. Did you're always the locker room music guy. You always were. You know, you were the guy on the aux. Did that, like playing for us, getting us up for games, did that have anything? Does it have any correlation into, hey, I like playing music, making people feel a certain way before they go into a game or whatever at a party? Does that time in soccer, did that translate to what you're doing today at all? Have you ever made that correlation or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like there's something about, like, there's a responsibility to be on music, and it's actually so important for a locker room because it does have like a profound effect on our emotions, whether we realize it or not. Even if it's in the background, like when you're in the shower or whatever, it does have an effect. And like when I wasn't starting, I really took ownership of that role. And I used it kind of like as my own social experiment of like, okay, 99% of people want to hear music that they know. That is like a very like human thing to want to hear the things you know. That's why pop music just gets bigger and bigger, you know? So what I would do is and this is kind of like the art of DJing in a bit, but it's kind of like, how can you play the things that you know people like, but then get away with the things that somebody doesn't know and make them like it.
Yeah.
So in a way, I was kind of like curating based on every individual in the locker room. So like we had a lot of guys that spoke Spanish, so I made sure to add a couple of Spanish, you know, singing songs. There were some guys that I know liked hip hop, and then there were some guys that I know, like Basti, loved classic rock. Like people from Germany, I guess. People from Germany only like
Hold
things
on.
that are
Classic rock or the Roma song?
right.
The Roma song.
Roma.
Yeah. German people like things that are proven over time, that stand the test of time. So yeah, for me, it was like building that playlist. And then after a while, it was like you saw the guys who didn't know the Spanish songs start to get into that, or the guys that, you know what I mean? So everyone kind of started to bond over the music. But it's the same way when I select DJs, you know? It's like I want somebody that's able to like you want somebody that's able to rope you in and get you interested and then get you to buy into the things that you don't know. So it's like there's a little bit of storytelling, but it's like really like how can you keep somebody engaged and motivated and ramp them up so that at the time the game starts, they're ready to play. That's why you can't start your playlist with the best, most inspirational song. You know, you got to save it for the end. And that's why, like, when guys, even at TST, when there's a 30-minute bus ride and I start a little slow, Gordo's like, Drewby, what the fuck? I'm falling asleep back here. I'm like, Gordo, I'm taking you on a journey.
Hey, calm down, buddy. Go to your happy place.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
great.
so cool, man. I gotta say, Drew, the Journeymen a couple months back, we had a real heart to heart between all of us, and wanting to get back to what I felt like and what we all felt like was going to be the bread and butter of our pod, right? Which is, yeah, we want to talk about soccer and we want to analyze the game, but we want to talk about like experiences that no one else knows about, right? And this episode, you in general are just like a testament to what we want, in this pod. And so I think that's a testament to you and your personality and everything that you're doing in your post-playing career, everything you did for us, the old guys in that locker room during our careers. But I had a ton of fun, man, on this pod going down memory lane. Before we get you out of here, are you still following MLS at all? Like, do you have do you have a pretty? I know you're pretty busy with the music stuff. Do you have a pretty like wide breadth of knowledge in terms of what's been happening at MLS this year? And if so, what do you make of the league right now?
Um, I mean, dude, first of all, I don't know. I knew the whole Miami fiasco would happen because I think we've seen so many great players come and end their career here, and it goes one of two ways.
Yeah.
It goes one of two ways. It's you either realize that the MLS isn't up to par, so are you going to get frustrated with the way things go, or So I think the last time I was really dialed in and watching stuff on like Twitter or highlights was like with that whole thing that happened at the end of the Miami game. I've been to a handful of Fire games, and I plan on going more this year. And I check the standings like every week.
Yeah.
I'm not watching games outside of the Fire games. But yeah, I just think the league is growing so fast right now, and it's going to be interesting to see how it continues to grow and how the league kind of takes shape because there's so much money involved now.
Yeah.
Like there's so much money involved and attention and a spotlight on this league that the league will continue to grow faster than it ever has, and it will be a top league. If not, top 8, like they say, like soon it'll be up there, like up there in a top 5, top 4, and it will happen. But I don't think it's necessarily a reflection of American soccer.
Yeah.
I think that the best sample of American soccer happens in USL Championship, and I think that's where when we look at the growth of American soccer as a whole, that's where you see it the most.
Sure.
And that's where you see it in the sense of quality, not like lights, camera, action, money.
Sure.
I think when you look at the quality of the American standard, where it really comes through is in the USL. And I think that is my big positive takeaway for how this country is progressing. Because, dude, when I was in MLS, you couldn't go, like my rookie year, you couldn't go, like if I got cut, you couldn't go to USL and make a livable wage, dude. Like that wasn't something you did. And if you did, there was only 1 or 2 teams that actually had fans and made it feel like a pro environment.
Yeah.
There are
it's different now.
Dude, there are USL championships with incredible followings and stadiums and like young American players. And like, there's not a lot of room on rosters for American guys like myself anymore. Right.
Yeah.
You got to be really special, and you definitely didn't go play college soccer.
Right.
But you're seeing guys from, second division European leagues want to come over and play in our second division.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge thing that people aren't talking about in American soccer right now because MLS and USL are separate. But I think if you look at the growth of American soccer and how it's progressed, the best sample of that is in the USL Championship.
A rising tide lifts all boats, my man. And the USL getting better and paying their players better and building an infrastructure that is sustainable will only continue to help everyone and help Major League Soccer continue to try to push the envelope.
Question, Dax.
Answer.
What do you make of the current like situation of the Open Cup and MLS teams opting out not to play?
Listen, I'm all for the Open Cup. You know, I love the Open Cup. It's one of my favorite competitions. I think that it's a tricky one because I don't necessarily think that MLS teams are opting not to play. I think Major League Soccer is making that decision for them because of the introduction of Leagues Cup, right? And so you only have so many dates on a calendar. And so when Leagues Cup got introduced, the Open Cup was kind of a product of that new competition and MLS teams having to kind of balance their schedule out, right? And so I believe how it worked was if you finished in the top half of Major League Soccer, you qualified for Leagues Cup this year. And if you finished in the bottom half, then you qualified for the Open Cup, right? And so I would love to see all MLS teams participate in the Open Cup. I think there's a tremendous amount of value in the competition still. I love the Open Cup. The great plug, by the way, Drewby. Open Cup semifinals start tonight. Philly, Nashville, and then tomorrow it's Minnesota, Austin. So well done there. But I would say, yeah, I would love to see all MLS teams always participate in the Open Cup. Unfortunately, I think maybe I don't know how much you've been following world soccer in general. Fixture congestion and not enough dates to play all these games is actually a real issue that players and teams are going to start having to navigate right now.
But Dax, this is our FA Cup. This is the only
I know.
This is the only thing that kept that gave us some sort of connection at like in a pyramid, even though, you know, that pyramid doesn't exist.
Totally.
Here. It's a shame for me because this is our FA Cup. This was the one, like it just feels like it doesn't mean anything anymore to MLS teams. And I would go as far to say that the Leagues Cup was put in place so that MLS teams would stop getting embarrassed by USL 1 teams in quarterfinals.
Could be.
And I think it happened to us when we got on that bus.
We definitely got embarrassed, but I think that Major League Soccer saw an opportunity with Liga MX, and they both agreed, hey, this is going to be mutually beneficial. I think if MLS teams played in the Open Cup, you would still continue to see what you're seeing. You would see a couple upsets, but at the end of the day, a Major League Soccer team is going to win the Open Cup. Like, until the USL Championship, there's a team, I think Louisville is so much quality on Louisville. Yeah. I think if you brought them into Major League Soccer, they'd be competitive. I just believe that I think a lot of it, honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with scheduling and just trying to balance out the fixture congestion. I really don't think it has anything to do with MLS teams getting embarrassed. That happens in any tournament you're going to be a part of. But yeah, man, I would love to see all the MLS teams participate. I just don't think at this point in time it's realistic.
Yeah. I think it was pretty eye-opening for some of the guys on our team when in 2018 we took an Open Cup trip to Cincinnati, right? And it's like,
oh yeah.
It's like David Accam doesn't know any USL team. You know, nope. Schweinsteiger was like, what is USL? And we went to a packed 35,000 seat University of Cincinnati stadium. And I think
that was a buzzsaw.
And I think a lot of guys on our team that, especially the foreign guys that, you know, didn't know that team even existed. It was kind of like eye-opening, you know? Yeah. And I just think it would be a shame if the MLS and USL and US Soccer didn't find time or put more importance on the Open Cup, because I think it's important. I think it's the only thing that gives lower league teams a chance to play in these big stadiums. And if you look at the results over the last couple of years, we've never seen USL 1 teams like this, you know, consistently. Chattanooga Red Wolves semifinal and quarterfinal 2 years in a row. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And yeah, you are going to find that because, like you said, the schedule, right? But I just think it would be a shame if like that went away, and it feels like it kind of is right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, buddy. But what I will say is Drew Connor is a man of the people. He's the common man that's doing big things right now. Drewby, I got to say, this has been an absolute pleasure. You're a legend. I think we can consider you a journeyman, right, Gordo? He's absolutely in the club.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
anyone who plays
The
anyone who plays in Croatia, the Croatian first or I don't know, was it second division?
It was
FC
we
Znojmo?
we didn't even get to his
I
time
know.
in Croatia.
You guys are gonna,
living in
hey,
an
you
attic.
guys are gonna have to have me back.
I
Let's
want to
do
have
it.
you back because I remember you FaceTiming me from I think some sort of communal locker room situation in
Dude, it was
Croatia.
We can let's do a 10-minute episode. We'll cut up a couple videos.
I
From
would
that.
love
We'll get it going.
I would love a Croatia story. But dude, we got to run. You're a legend. I hope you maybe I'll commission you to throw a birthday party for me one of these days. Maybe
I
my
like that.
40th. How do you feel about that?
I can do that.
I love that, man. Thanks for having that. Thanks for coming
buddy.
on, brother. You're a legend. Journeyman, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week.